On episode 468, Simon came on and told us about the most recent encounter he had in Judy Woods with his friend Michael and Anne-Marie. Well, after some time and some work, Simon put me into touch with Michael, and luckily Michael's agreed to come on tonight's show and give us his version of what happened that night. Michael, thanks so much for coming on.
It's lovely to be on your show, Vic. Obviously, I'm feeling a lot better than I was last time when I spoke to you. Obviously, we spoke last time about everything that happened to me. And, yeah, it's just great to be back. And I'm feeling a lot better than I was last time when I spoke to you.
Well, I'm so glad you are. That's really good news because you were in a bad way. Simon, actually, when he contacted me about you, he was really concerned about you, and he was hoping the conversation, if we could have one, that is, would help you. So I'm so glad to hear it did.
Of course. It's like last time I was so messed up. I felt terrible. I was so nervous about talking to you. I was so paranoid. It's like, you won't believe it, man. Talking to you now, I feel a lot more confident. I feel ready to talk about this. I didn't really know what to say to you last time. But now I'm ready to tell my story. And, yeah, you saw it like last time, Vic. I was just so, like, upset and paranoid and everything else like that. It was just terrible. I was in a really bad way last time I spoke to you. But now that we've had our little chat, I'm ready to go now. I feel a lot better about myself.
Well, that's great news. Yeah, when we spoke that time, I could tell almost instantly that you were in a really bad way, so that's music to my ears to hear that you're doing so much better now. That's great. Michael, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
Well, obviously, you've heard Simon's story in the past. I'm 32. I work a government job. I'd rather not go into that, my government job. But yeah, I'm Simon's friend. I'd rather not tell too much about myself, but what else would you like to know?
Well, you forgot to mention the fact that you're an all-around nice guy as well.
I am an all-round nice guy. Like, there's a reason why Simon thinks so highly of me, because I am an all-round nice guy. I'm quite a boring guy, to be honest. I won't lie to you, Vic.
No, far from it. I'm not going to buy that. Don't buy that at all. And it was something when Simon contacted me about you. It sure sounded to me like he was more concerned about you than he was about him coming to terms with that most recent encounter he had.
Also, I've got some good news, Vic. Anne-Marie is out of the mental institution.
Oh, good.
That's the news I've heard recently. So, who knows? In the future, she might get in contact with you.
I sure hope she does.
Well, I'll just say this, right? Do you know, last time I spoke to you, we had like a little private conversation. You really put me on the right track after that conversation. I'm thinking Anne-Marie might want like a private conversation, no recording or anything like that. And she might end up coming and talking to you privately. And then eventually, like I'm doing now, she might end up recording an episode with you.
Well, if we do record a show, then that's totally up to her. Like I said, there's never any pressure to come on the show. So please make sure she understands that.
Yeah, obviously, I didn't want to come on this show before, but the way you spoke to me last time, and you made sure that I was treated very well by you, even though it wasn't on like a public station. It wasn't on a public platform. You still made me feel better, way better about myself. The only reason I'm here today, I want to record an episode with you, is because you made me feel so, like, I felt believed. And I felt cared for when I spoke to you last time. So that's why I'm here today, to record this episode with you.
Well, it's good you felt that way because I definitely do care about you getting better and coming to terms with that experience. So it's great you picked up on that. Michael, when Simon told you about his first encounter he had, the encounter when he was bringing that little white dog home, but unfortunately he lost it in the woods, and then he had that Dogman encounter, Did you believe him?
No, I did not believe him. I thought he was playing a joke on me. Do you know, me and Simon, we've been friends for a good while, yeah? Obviously. He's pulled pranks on me in the years that I've known him. It's just like, that's what friends do, man. We pull pranks on each other. We talk crap to each other. I thought he was just making up stories, trying to make me bite to his story. No, I honestly didn't believe him at all.
Well, you can't be faulted for that. I mean, your whole life you've been conditioned to believe that things like Dogman and Sasquatch can't be out there, so that's not your fault. But unfortunately, you saw with your own eyes that, guess what? They really are out there.
Unfortunately, yes. I did, yeah. I know what you're saying. There's no way Dogman, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, none of that's real, man. Even ghosts not real. But after I experienced what I experienced, man, I've got no doubts in my mind at all that these things do exist.
Yeah, they definitely do, unfortunately. What do you think a Dogman is, Michael?
Well, before these encounters that I had, I didn't believe, honestly, that Dogman existed. I've never heard of the so-called Dogman, but I have heard of werewolves. So, if you mention Dogman, I'd think it's just a werewolf. So, I've never heard of such a creature as a Dogman. Let's just call it a werewolf from now on.
Well, that point of view is no different from a lot of other people's point of view. I mean, a lot of people who have encounters with these guys, they're convinced that they must be werewolves and not dogmen, so it's not just you.
I do agree, man. I think it were a werewolf, what we saw. I said Dogman. I've never heard of it. I've heard of werewolves before, but I've never heard of a Dogman.
Well, like I said, that doesn't make you any different from a lot of other people. If you've had a Dogman encounter and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest on one of my 2 Bigfoot shows, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let me know. Well, Michael, we can talk more if you need more time to get ready to tell us about the encounter, or if you're ready to talk about it and tell us your version of what happened that night, then we can do that now. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, we can go for it right now, Vic. We can go for it right now.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then yeah, please tell us your side of what happened that night, and please remember to give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Okay. It was May time. It was a Sunday. I can't remember the exact date. I know it was May. We all met at about 6:30 p.m. at Simon's house. He told me that he's going to go through the woods and he's going to try to overcome his fear of the Dogman. So I turned up to his house at 6:30. We ended up passing through the woods at about 7 p.m. And during this time, it was like, no, I don't believe you, Simon. There's no way that you've had this Dogman or werewolf encounter. I still don't know what to call it. Is it a Dogman? Is it a bloody werewolf? I don't know. But as we were walking through the woods, Simon was being very quiet. We'd usually be having a laugh. And I've said this before, but I think Simon was pranking me. You know, because he's been such a joker in the past. It's like, there's no way. There's no way. I'm going to maybe I'll try to prank him too. But the way we're being so quiet and that, I thought it was setting me up. Anyway, we go through Judy Woods. There were pegs from an overturned fence. So we pulled the pegs out of the floor. Anne-Marie, who's Simon's girlfriend, used the What 3 Words app to get the exact location. And then we planted the pegs in the ground, to make a fire later on. So we went through the woods when it was light. And Simon said, "Oh, we're going to Ronnie's house." So Ronnie, she's like Simon's friend. And we decided to surprise Ronnie and meet up with Ronnie at her house. So we got to Ronnie's house, and it's like Ronnie's made all this really beautiful food for us. So we went into Ronnie's house. We told Ronnie what we was planning to do. Obviously, Ronnie knew about Simon's previous encounter before I knew anything about the Dogman or whatever else, right? Ronnie knew about Simon's previous encounter. So I didn't know this at the time. I always thought Simon was pranking me. So we went to Ronnie's house, had some nice vegan food and stuff like that. It were actually brilliant to meet Ronnie. Obviously, she's like an older lady. It was nice to hear her life experiences, what she was telling me about. So we went to the White Bear pub, and this must have been about 8:30. So bearing in mind, I met Simon at 6:30. It must have been about 2 hours since I met Simon. So we went through the woods, we seen Ronnie, went to the pub. As it gets to about 8:30, I was saying to Simon, because obviously I didn't believe him at the time, I was like, come on, Si, let's go find this Dogman. And he wasn't listening. He had his half a pint of Carling, which had been sat on for about 2 hours. I'd had about 3 pints by that time, because I like a drink as well. So I banged on the table. I said, Simon, let's go find this Dogman then. And the whole pub went silent. It was like, they all looked round at me. I was like, come on then, Si. But everyone was just looking at me. So I thought that were a bit strange. So we went out at the pub. We went back through Judy Woods. And yeah, that's where it all went. This is where it ended up being the worst experience of my actual life ever. We went back into Judy Woods after this. We got the fire lit. When we got the fire lit, we were all talking about these crazy encounters that Simon had. And then it's like, we lit up the fire, we got it lit, and we were just talking. And then all of a sudden, everything went quiet. The fire, it went blue. It did. It went blue. All of a sudden, we heard a massive growl. I turned to my right hand side. I looked out for what made that growl, and then that's when it appeared. That's when the Dogman came out, or the werewolf, whatever you call it. He appeared out of the bush, or she appeared out of the bush. I don't know what kind of gender it was. I'm like 6'2", and that were at least a foot taller than me. It was hard to make out the colour of its fur because it was dark. And then all of a sudden, apparently, I went into like some kind of trance, but it's like I was just stuck on my spot on the seat. It's like everything going on around me. I got told that it were like teasing or like I don't know the words to explain it. It were like messing with Simon and Anne-Marie. I was just sat there, like I can't remember anything at this point. I was just sat there apparently, and I went into like a trance, and I were out of it for at least. It felt like hours, but according to Simon and Anne-Marie, it were about minutes. So I was just sat there on this log. Well, it were like teasing them. It was like jumping in front of Anne-Marie. It was. Simon said that he touched it at some point. I don't know what happened there. I was just there, like a statue, like a gargoyle, just stuck in place. And as time went on, Simon's words came true to me. They go, "It feeds on your fear." That's what I heard. That's the only thing I heard. It feeds on your fear. So like, I just got up and I started, like, I went for the peg that were in the fire and I started swinging it around. And then it got scared off. But then Simon and Anne-Marie said to me, "It's a good job you woke up and started swinging that peg around, or else we would have all been dead," apparently. After that, yeah, I remember just walking back to Simon's house, and that were it.
Did you get any sleep that night?
No, I didn't get any sleep for the next week, Vic.
Oh, I'm sure you didn't. I believe it. Did you go into work? Did you have trouble working and functioning, doing things you needed to do in day-to-day life for the next week or two after that, or were you still able to get the job done?
No, I barely had any sleep for at least a week. I kept waking up. Every time I was falling asleep, I kept getting shaked back up by my subconscious that says, "It's still coming for you. Wake up." So I kept shuddering, "Wake up, wake up." So I kept being shocked awake by my own dreams.
That's not good at all. What are your sleep patterns like now? Much better or pretty much still the same?
Well, since I talked to you, Vic, last time, we had a good chat, didn't we, last time? I sleep a lot better these days, definitely.
Oh, good. That's really good news. If you ever do start to have trouble again, please do let me know. I've got an idea about how to remedy that. You told us that you thought Simon was trying to prank you when you went to Judy Woods with him and Anne-Marie that night. Did Anne-Marie seem to think he was trying to prank her too?
I'd say with Anne-Marie, no, she believes Simon. Obviously, I didn't, because I know what kind of a prankster Simon's been in the past. But they hadn't been a couple for that long. And I know what Simon's like, and she didn't know. But obviously, I regret telling her that now. Because before we set off to Judy Woods, when we met at Simon's house, I said, "This guy's a joker, man. Don't believe anything he's saying." And I really regret what I said to Anne-Marie. Because she were in two minds at that point. It was oh, my new boyfriend is lying about this. It's I wish I wouldn't have said anything to her.
Well, don't be too hard on yourself. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You didn't know at the time, and unfortunately you know now that he was telling the truth.
Yeah. I wish I wouldn't have doubted him. I'm glad you explained it like that. Because I feel really guilty for telling Anne-Marie not to believe him. Because I didn't believe him myself. Ronnie believed him. I didn't try to persuade Ronnie in any other way. It's if she believed him, then Ronnie's about 70 years old. I don't know if Simon told you how old Ronnie was. But if she can believe him, maybe I shouldn't have judged him too harshly.
Yeah, well, we're back to the whole shoulda, coulda, woulda thing again. Please don't be too hard on yourself because you really didn't know, and almost anyone would have responded that way in that same situation, so that's not your fault. When you told Simon that you wanted to go find that Dogman in the pub that night, you said that everyone stopped what they were doing and just stared at you. When they did that, did you feel like you were sitting in the slaughtered lamb instead of the pub you're in?
It was just weird, man. Obviously, I didn't think anyone would hear it when I said it to him. Like, I didn't think anyone would care that much. So I said, come on, Simon, let's go find this Dogman. And it's like the pub just went quiet. And it's like, what do they know that I don't at that point? Do they know there's a Dogman in these woods? It felt like I was in an episode of the Twilight Zone. It was like so confusing because I didn't think anyone would react to what I said. Like, let's go find this Dogman. I don't know. It was just really weird. Everyone just stopped, looked around at me, and then it seemed like there were quite a few moments of silence. I don't know how to explain it. It was just an eerie feeling when they all just looked at me. It's like, it were all on me at that point. It was like, what does he know about these woods? It's like the locals knew about it, but it's like I was an outsider. So it was just very weird. That's all I'll say. It was just very weird.
Yeah, weird and awfully awkward to have an experience like that. They just might know about that werewolf in Judy Woods. It's hard to say. You never know.
And I didn't think they'd all know about it like that, but it seems like they all knew about the werewolf for Judy Woods. And I was just an outsider saying, let's go find it. It's like, they already knew it were there. And it's like, I was like a lamb to the slaughter, the way I see it.
It sounds like they just might have known. Yeah, I'll give you that. How far is that pub from Judy Woods?
Not very far at all. I'd say about 200 metres from the entrance to Judy Woods. That pub is like on the main strip, and then you've got over the road, it's Judy Woods. The entrance to Judy Woods is right there.
Wow, close. Yeah, that's really close. How sure are you that the werewolf was responsible for the fire turning blue?
I'm actually not sure. This is all new to me. Like, I don't know about werewolf stories. I don't know about Dogman stories. The first thing I heard about the werewolf or the Dogman, I still don't know what it is. Honestly, Vic, I don't know what it is. But it's either the werewolf or the Dogman of Judy Woods. I'm pretty sure that the Dogman or the werewolf was responsible for the fire turning blue. I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure, yes, I think definitely that the Dogman or the werewolf was responsible for it.
Don't know how it did it, but I agree. I think it must have been responsible for the fire doing that. It's hard to wrap your mind around how it could have done it, but like I said, I'm pretty sure it was responsible. Is the fact the fire did that one of the reasons why you think it just might be a werewolf and not a Dogman?
I honestly don't know. I'd say that there was. I think there was something supernatural about it. I think the Dogman or the werewolf. I keep saying this, right? I don't know if I'm just going to call it a werewolf from now on. Yeah. I think the werewolf turned that fire blue through its own. I think it definitely was something to do with the werewolf.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, like I said. In a way, do you think the fact that you froze and were out of it while the encounter played out helped to make it being in your presence a little easier?
Yeah, because obviously I heard that Anne-Marie was getting chased by the werewolf. Imagine being chased by something like, I don't know, it's like she actually got stopped by it twice apparently. She tried running away from it and it came and brought her back to like the centre of the area where we was at. And then it happened again. So as far as I'm saying for Anne-Marie, I think if she would have kept running, it would have kept herding her back or like bringing her back to where she was. And no matter how many times she would have tried to run away from it, it might have always like brought her back. Do you know what I mean? It's like the more she tried to run away, the more it brought her back. So I was just like sat there and I felt trapped by it. I didn't move. I didn't know what was happening. Like Simon said, I was in like some kind of trance with it. Like, I don't think I was in a trance per se, but I think I was just so scared of it that I was just frozen to the spot. So Anne-Marie was just being constantly like herded back into the centre of the area we was at by it. It's like, wow. I wouldn't have liked to be in that situation.
Not at all. Now, these guys know what they're doing. That werewolf or dogman, whatever you want to call it, it knew that by chasing her back to the same spot, that was just going to heighten the terror that she felt. So I've got no doubts that's why it did it, unfortunately. You were out of it at the time, so you probably don't, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you remember the thought coming into your head about picking up that log and waving it at that dogman or werewolf, if it was a werewolf, with the flame on it?
Yeah, well, basically, I was just stuck there on the spot. But then I heard Simon's words. Obviously, we've talked about the 7 magic words that you were talking about. But Simon's words was, it feeds on your fear, right? And he was shouting that out to me. And that's how I woke up and actually came out of that. Like, it was like I was stuck. It was like a rock on the spot. And I heard them words going through my mind at that point. You know, Simon shouted out, it feeds on your fear. And then I don't know where it came from, but I just got this like second wind. It was like I stood up. I got the peg out of the ground and I just started swinging it after he said it feeds on your fear. I don't know where them words came from because when I've spoke to you in the past, it's like there were no mention of it feeds on your fear. But Simon's words came into my mind then. It's like it feeds on your fear. And then when I heard them words coming from Simon, it's like I broke out the shackles and I just got up, picked out the peg out the ground and then started swinging it at the werewolf.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but dogmen don't like fire. So just imagine the terror, the fear that werewolf or dogman felt when you pulled that peg out of the ground and started swinging it at it with that flame dancing on that peg.
It's funny that you're calling it a dogman. So dogmen don't like fire.
No, they don't.
We always call it a werewolf, not a dogman, a werewolf. Maybe it was a dogman then. So if they don't like fire and I'm swinging like burning embers at them, it's like, yeah, maybe it was a dogman then. If you're saying they don't like fire, then maybe it was a dogman.
They normally don't. And if that one was a dogman and not a werewolf, which I've got serious doubts about werewolves being a reality, but that's another show for another time. But if it was a dogman, which I'm pretty sure it was, then I pretty much guarantee he wasn't happy when you were doing that.
Yeah, because I just snapped out of like what was keeping me down. I just woke up. I heard what Simon was shouting at me. It feeds on your fear. And I just got up, pulled it out of the fire, and just started swinging at the dogman. I just started swinging it. So maybe it was a dogman then. You know, forget about werewolves then. If that's a dogman and they don't like fire, it definitely didn't like what I was doing to it.
I'm sure he didn't like that at all. Maybe he had to go seek counseling because of that. Traumatizing him. It's hard to say. You never know. Simon made his belief that they feed on your fear known. Do you agree with that idea?
Well, you know, when it came out of the bushes, when I looked at it, that's all I can remember from this encounter, to be honest. Right? I've been told about everything that happened like Simon's encounter. Simon's told me what's happened, right? But the only thing I can remember is I heard the growl, yeah. I looked to my right-hand side, and that thing was coming through the bushes, and I was just stuck to the spot. But it's like everything, up to the point of me getting up and swinging that peg with the fire on it around my head and trying to, like, attack the Dogman with it. Everything that happened in that moment were a blur. All I remember is I got stuck to the spot when it growled, and then the next thing I remember, I was just swinging that stick, that peg around my head with the fire on it. So yeah, I can believe that it does feed on your fear.
That they do. For some reason, they love doing that. Simon gave us a really good description of that Dogman when he was on last time, and that's what I want you to do now for us. Please describe it as carefully as you can from the tips of its ears all the way down to his feet.
Well, I'm 6'2", about 200 pounds. I don't know why I'm telling you my weight, but I'll tell you my weight. I'm 6'2", around 200 pounds, yeah. This thing, this absolute monster of an animal was at least 7'5", I'd say. 7'5", easily, right? I do remember part of its anatomy. I couldn't make out, like, what colour it was because it was quite dark. I do remember it having a damaged eye. I'm sure Simon told you about it before. It did have a damaged eye. I remember the damaged eye. But Simon said it also had a damaged tooth, but I don't remember even looking at its teeth. Yeah, it was just massive. That's all I remember about it. And also, one of its eyes were like closed, like partially closed. That were its, if I'm looking at it now, it were its left eye, but that's his or hers right eye. So I was looking at it from like straight on. The left eye were like damaged, but that's the Dogman's right eye that were damaged. Simon said that its tooth was chipped. I can't remember anything about that. And it was such like it was just so scary, and I can't remember its tooth, but I do remember its eye was closed slightly.
Did its eye look to be damaged from some kind of a sickness or due to a physical injury, like a possible fight with another Dogman?
I think its eye was damaged due to like it being like hit in the eye. So I don't think it was like damaged by anything. Maybe it had. No, I won't say that. I'm going to say maybe it had hay fever or something. One of its eyes were like well open, like, big, massive, round eye. And the other eye, it was like quite closed. Like, yeah, like maybe it had been injured by something. But I don't think it got injured by like another Dogman attack. I don't know how its eye were like closed up. But I'd just say its eye were closed a little bit. I don't know how its eye got injured, but it were definitely injured.
It sure does make you wonder how that happened and what actually did injure it then. Do you think the reason that Anne-Marie wound up in that mental hospital is because of her saying the wrong thing to the wrong person? Or was that due to her inability to deal with that experience, maybe as well as you and Simon did?
You heard my reaction to it, man. I looked at it, yeah. This big bloody 7 foot, 8 foot Dogman. Like, what did I do? I ended up freezing on the spot. And what I've heard, it were like jumping in front of her, like terrorizing her. It did that twice to her. She tried running away from the Dogman twice. And it's like, who wouldn't be traumatized by that? You know what I mean? It's like, it herded her back. It like pushed her back twice. When she tried to run away, she were only trying to get away from it. And the Dogman saw that it was trying to get away from her. and the Dogman's like brought her back all these times. It's like she's trying to run away, and the Dogman's just pulling her back all the time. I don't know, man. I'd say that's why she was in a mental hospital, because she was trying to get away. It was pulling her back all the time.
No, I totally understand. Yeah, as if it wasn't bad enough just to have that thing around, the fact that it was chasing her the way it did. Yeah, that just takes it to a whole new level. I'm still unsure about this, Michael. Do you think you were affected by that encounter more or less than Simon was?
Well, I'd say that was Simon's second encounter, wasn't it? Simon pulled me into this encounter. It's like, I don't know. I'd say that's his second experience, yeah. I didn't even believe him at first. So I reckon Simon's been way more affected than I have. Because that was just one time for me. And that's it for me. I am never going back in Judy Woods. No way, no how. You could pay me £1 million to go back in Judy Woods, yeah? I am not doing it. I am not doing it. Simon wanted to come back and face his fears and relive his experiences. But I can't believe he actually went back into them woods. I cannot believe he wanted to go back into them woods. That's some man, that. That is some man. I would never, ever, if I had an experience like that, I would never go back into them woods. There's no way. You couldn't pay me £1 million, $1 million, you know, you couldn't pull me back into them woods, no matter how much you tried. So, yeah, I think it definitely affected Simon more than me. I only had one experience, and that's it for me. I am never, ever, ever going back into them woods. Even if you offered me all the money in the world, no matter what you offered me, I am never, ever going back in them woods. So, yeah, Simon was definitely more affected than me.
You say you'd never go back into Judy Woods, but how about another forest? Do you think someday down the road you might go into another woods?
Well, as long as it's not Judy Woods, I might go back into some woods. It's just them woods at the moment. I would never go back into them woods. There's a few different forests around our areas, because we live in Yorkshire, so there's quite a few different kind of like forests and greeneries and everything like that. Maybe I might go into some different woods or some different, you know, areas, but there's no way I'd go back into Judy Woods. There's no way. I could never go back into Judy Woods.
Had you ever been in Judy Woods before you had that experience?
Oh, yeah. I'd been in Judy Woods quite a few times. When I was younger, I used to walk my dogs around Judy Woods, because I used to live quite close to Judy Woods. Obviously, I've moved houses since then, and I've moved like way down Bradford, because we're in Bradford 6. I moved to Bradford 5, and obviously, when I was walking my dogs, like, you know, taking my dogs for a walk, I'd never take my dogs up to Judy Woods, because I live in Bradford 5, so I'd just take them around like my local park. So, yeah, I'd never be up near Judy Woods in the first place.
Well, Michael, this isn't going to give you the warm and fuzzies, but if you've been in Judy Woods that many times before you had that experience, especially out there walking your dogs, doing whatever, that Dogman and others, I'm sure it's watched you more times than you can shake a stick at. So those times when it was watching you, when it was monitoring you, it never harmed you. It never harmed you the night when you, Simon, and Anne-Marie encountered it, but you've been monitored by these guys more times than you can shake a stick at, like I said, and you have yet to have a single hair in your head harmed. So please remember that. I know it's not a easy thing to ever someday plan on heading back into Judy Woods, but sometime eventually down the road, I hope you do get to a point where you're comfortable enough with heading back into the woods that you can, but I hope you don't rush that.
I'm glad you said that. Hopefully, I can come back into these woods, but I don't live close to the woods at the moment. I live way down the road. Say, there's Judy Woods where Simon lives, yeah? I live on the main road, which is Manchester Road, and it goes down like miles, Manchester Road. I live like quite in the middle of Manchester Road, and Simon lives like near the top of Manchester Road. I'd say never say never, Vic. I'd say never, but hopefully I don't have anything to do with Judy Woods in the future. So I'd just say, like, at the moment, I'm well away from them woods. But when I used to take my dogs for a walk, I was quite close to the woods because I used to live up Simon's area. But now I live way further down on Manchester Road, like away from the woods. If you know what I mean, it's like I've got no actual reason of overcoming these woods again, unless I move back up towards Simon's area where he lives, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Well, that goes for any woods. Hope that someday you can just go back into whatever woods you're close to or want to go into and enjoy yourself, but all in good time.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. It's like, I remember them 7 magic words that you told me. Do you know, last time, obviously, this wasn't on record, you know. We wasn't recording an episode at that time. But last time, you told me them 7 magic words. I do remember that, and that's what keeps me going. Because last time, when we had a chat, I was a shell of me for myself. But then you said them 7 magic words, right? And, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, Vic. It's like, it didn't want to hurt me. It didn't. If that Dogman, on that experience what I had, on that night, yeah, if it would have wanted to hurt me, he would have been reading the news like, oh, 3 people found dead in Judy Woods. That's what it would have been, Vic. I honestly believe that. It's like, that Dogman, or werewolf, whatever it is, forget about that. Forget about what it's called, right? You would have been hearing about 3 people found dead in Judy Woods, slices across the flesh and all that. It's like, it didn't want to hurt me at that point. It did not want to hurt me at that point. Maybe I can go into the woods in the future, but we'll just have to see. I'll see how I feel about that at that point. It's like, it didn't want to hurt me at that point, but we'll see. We'll see. I do want to venture back into them woods, but it's all about if I'm feeling up for it at the time. And I'll just add this, Vic. Do you know the woods in America? I'd say them woods in America, they are way bigger. Way, way, way bigger than what we have in the UK. I tell you, in the UK, they want to get rid of all the woods. They want to fatten them and build like pedestrian areas in the UK. They want to get rid of all the Greenland and build houses on them. But in the US is like 1,000, probably 10,000 times bigger than the UK. So it's like, we don't have them big, massive woodlands because the government are trying to make houses on them green areas. So in the US, it's like you've got a much more massive area than we have in the UK, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that definitely does make sense. And as you know, there are a lot of people who swear because of that Dogman can't be there, but they are, as you saw.
I believe it. I think it was a werewolf or a Dogman, definitely. I still don't know what it was, but for what I'm saying, it was definitely not a natural, like, piece of wildlife in the UK. We don't have stuff like that in the UK. We don't have dogmen or werewolves or like wild wolves or anything like that. So it's like, well, I didn't think we did, but obviously they exist here. They definitely exist here.
That they do, as you saw with your own 2 eyes. How long of a walk is it through Judy Woods to get from Ronnie's house to where Simon lives?
From Ronnie's house to where Simon's is, I reckon it's the best part of about half an hour.
Wow, that's a pretty good walk, about 2 miles.
It is quite a massive area. We went the long ways, which is about, I'd say, 3 or 4 miles at least. Through the long ways. We went lengthways, I'd say widthways, it's about 1.5 miles. So widthways, it's like 2-3 times as long as it is widthways. So we went lengthways, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you did go the long way. If you've had a Dogman encounter and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest on one of my 2 Bigfoot shows, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let me know. It sure is a shame that you can't just head into any woods and be carefree and just have a great time, but maybe sometime down the road, in your own good time, you will be able to get back to doing that. I sure hope you can. But having said that, before we get out of here, do you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
I'd just say these creatures do definitely exist. No matter what point on the globe it is, you better be ready to deal with these kind of creatures, because they are definitely out there. I never believed anything like this before I went out with Simon and actually experienced this myself. I never believed it before, but I'd say, yeah, they definitely exist, and you better be wary of them, because they will mess your life up. They will. If they want to terrorize you, they will terrorize you. It all depends if they want to hurt you. That's what I'd say.
That's very well said. Well, Michael, I can't thank you enough for coming on and giving us your version of what happened that night. I'm so sorry, like I said, that it had to happen, but I'm so glad to hear that you're doing so much better, so thank goodness for that.
I'd just say thank you. Since we had our last talk, I'm way more understanding about it now. It's I was so confused last time when obviously you heard what I was talking to you about last time. I thought it were out to get me, it were stalking me. But now I've realised that it was just an encounter where it were it just wanted to tease me. It didn't want to hurt me. That's them 7 magic words. It didn't want to hurt me. And it was just an unlucky encounter with a beast, an evil beast.
When it boils down to it, you basically had a Grinch encounter. That's really what happened. And to be honest, full disclosure, Michael, I didn't think there was any way that you'd ever wind up wanting to record a show. I thought that we would just have conversations about that experience and that was going to be it. When you reached out to me and you asked about coming on the show, you said, okay, well, I'm ready to record a show. I just didn't see that coming, but I'm so glad to hear that you're doing so much better now that you are ready to do this. So that's really good news. And please do remember, if sometime down the road you do need more help for whatever reason, please let me know. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be there for you.
Well, Vic, all I've got to say is, man, when I first thought about reaching out to you from Simon told me, reach out to Vic. He'll sort you out. I just thought, you wanted to make a quick buck. I'm sorry for saying this, but I thought you were just, you wanted to, say to me, Michael, just come on my show, and it's you'll get some publicity off this. But it wasn't like that at all. You spoke to me and you said to me, we don't have to record this. I was happy enough to just talk to you without it being recorded. And you just wanted to help. You didn't want to make a quick buck off me. You didn't want to do anything like that. You just said, let's talk, Michael. Let's talk. And I'll forever be appreciative of what you said to me, of what we talked about that night, before I came on the show. It's I trust Vic now. It's you never wanted to take advantage or anything like that. You were just there to give a sympathetic ear to me.
I'm so glad you understand that now. Having said that, Michael, thanks again so much for your time. Like I said, please remember, if you ever need my help in the future, please do let me know, because if that's the case, I'll be glad to help however I can.
Thank you very much, Vic. I appreciate you and everything you do.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks again so much, and have a great night.